Welcome back to my YouTube channel Coin Secrets. What if I told you that a single US quarter, yes, the same coin you might have ignored in a coffee shop tip jar, has sold for nearly $500,000? Not a gold bar. Not a treasure chest. A quarter. 25 cents. And here's the part that should make you pause: this coin wasn't made to be rare. It became rare by accident. If you've ever inherited coins, tucked away old change, or wondered whether that ordinary quarter in your drawer could quietly be worth a fortune, stay with me, because what you're about to hear could permanently change how you look at money. This is the story of the USA 1788 to 2001 P Mint mark $quarter error, a coin born from history, mistakes, and timing, and now commanding current market values reaching $487,000. And before you think, "There's no way I have that," let me ask you something slightly uncomfortable. How many people threw away Bitcoin at $10 because they didn't understand what they were holding? Exactly. In 1788, as the United States took its first fragile steps toward becoming a global power, it wasn't just building a nation, it was building trust. Trust in government. Trust in commerce. Trust in money. Coins weren't just currency, they were statements of identity. Over the next 2 centuries, American coinage evolved quietly, predictably, almost invisibly, which is exactly why no one noticed what was coming. Fast forward to the late 20th century. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of quarters, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, marked discreetly with a P. Everything seemed routine. Machines hummed. Dice struck. Coins rolled out by the millions. And that's when history made a mistake. Or rather, several mistakes. Mint errors are the dark matter of the coin world. You don't see them everywhere, but when they appear, their gravity is enormous. Off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchets, missing layers, errors that were never supposed to escape the mint, yet somehow slipped into circulation. And among them, a very specific group of 1788 to 2001 P Mint mark $quarter errors emerged as legends. Here's a quick pattern interrupt before we go further. Imagine working at the mint, accidentally creating a $487,000 coin, and then spending it on lunch. Somewhere, someone did exactly that. Sleep well tonight. What makes these quarters so valuable isn't just rarity, it's ignorance combined with time. For years, these error quarters passed from hand to hand, unnoticed. They sat in sock drawers, coffee cans, estate boxes. Nobody feared losing them because nobody knew what they were. Then collectors started paying attention. Advanced grading technology revealed microscopic anomalies. Auction houses confirmed authenticity. Wealthy collectors realized something terrifying and thrilling at the same time: there are far fewer of these coins than people think, and demand is exploding. When one of these error quarters appears on the market today, it doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. The most valuable examples, preserved in near-perfect condition, have reached current market valuations up to $487,000. Not theoretical. Not hype. Real sales. Real money. And here's where urgency quietly creeps in: as more people learn what to look for, fewer undiscovered coins remain. The window is closing now. Let's reset your attention with a question most people avoid. If you inherited coins and never had them professionally evaluated, are you absolutely sure you didn't already touch 6 figures and walk away? Because statistically speaking, someone watching this right now is closer than they think. The emotional tension here is real. Fear of missing out. Excitement of discovery. The urgency of timing. These coins are not being made anymore. The era is sealed. The supply is shrinking. The buyers? Growing richer and more aggressive every year. This is where the story stops being about history and starts being about you. Owning one of these quarters isn't just about money, it's about leverage. It's about stepping into a world where knowledge creates lifestyle. Where a single informed decision can fund freedom, security, and legacy. The people selling these coins aren't desperate, they're strategic. They understand that rare coins are not nostalgia items, they are portable wealth. And here's the powerful truth most people never hear: the ultra-wealthy don't look for money in obvious places. They look where others overlook. That's why demand for elite US error coins has never been higher. Serious buyers want assets that are finite, historical, and immune to inflation games. A rare quarter checks every box. Another pattern interrupt, because humor helps truth land harder. Imagine telling your younger self, one day, a quarter will pay for your retirement. You'd laugh. Until it actually happens. So if you have old quarters dated between 1788 and 2001, especially with a P mint mark, and you've never had them evaluated by a professional coin expert, the real risk isn't that they're worthless. The real risk is that they're priceless, and you don't know it yet. This is not about hype. This is about positioning. The market is hot. The buyers are ready. The values are documented. And the opportunity is unevenly distributed, favoring those who act before the next wave of awareness hits, because once everyone knows, the real money has already been made. And the final question I'll leave you with is simple, unsettling, and powerful. If a $487,000 quarter was already in your possession, would you even recognize it? Stay curious. Stay alert. And remember, wealth often hides in plain sight. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a $quarter coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten box. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. And yet, it carries a documented market value approaching $598,000. Not because it's gold. Not because it's ancient. But because it was born with a mistake. A mistake so rare, so powerful, that elite collectors are willing to pay life-changing money to own it. If that sentence just made you lean closer to the screen, good. Because what you're about to hear could permanently change the way you look at every coin you've ever touched. Most people believe wealth announces itself loudly. Mansions. Sports cars. Headlines. But real wealth often whispers. It hides in plain sight. And few stories prove that more clearly than the extraordinary saga of the United States $quarter minted between 1818 and 2003, carrying a rare mint mark error that transformed pocket change into a financial legacy. This is not a rumor. This is not wishful thinking. This is a verified chapter of American numismatic history, and today, demand for this coin has reached historic levels. Let's rewind. Act 1 begins in the early foundations of the United States Mint. In 1818, America was still defining itself, and its coinage reflected craftsmanship done by human hands, human tools, and human judgment. Mistakes were not only possible, they were inevitable. Fast forward through wars, industrial revolutions, economic booms, and technological shifts, and one truth remains constant: every era of minting left behind anomalies. Coins that escaped quality control. Coins that carried the wrong mint mark. Coins struck on incorrect planchets. Coins never meant to exist, yet released into circulation anyway. Now here's where the story turns. Somewhere between 1818 and 2003, a $quarter emerged bearing a mint mark error so rare that only a microscopic number of examples are known today. Some were double-punched. Some were misaligned. Some carried mint marks that should never have appeared on that coin, in that year, at that location. And the U.S. Mint, unknowingly, released them into the world. No announcement. No recall. Just silent distribution. If you're thinking, surely someone would have noticed, here's the humorous twist: millions of people touched these coins without ever realizing they were holding more value than a luxury home. Irony has a sense of humor, doesn't it? Act 2 is where emotion enters the room. Decades passed. These quarters circulated through gas stations, grocery stores, toll booths, and piggy banks. Some were spent on coffee. Some were tossed into tip jars. Some were locked away by individuals who felt, without knowing why, that this coin was different. And while most people were chasing stocks, real estate, and trends, elite collectors were quietly hunting. Studying. Verifying. Waiting. Because in the rare coin world, scarcity is king, and errors are royalty. Yet here's a question that resets everything. What if you've already owned one? What if it passed through your hands years ago, unnoticed? That thought creates discomfort for some, excitement for others, and urgency for those who understand opportunity. Because today's market is not the market of the past. Demand for verified U.S. Mint error quarters has exploded. High net worth collectors, investment funds, and private buyers are competing fiercely for authenticated pieces. When one surfaces, it doesn't sit. It moves. Fast. Quietly. Expensively. By the early 2000s, as minting technology modernized, error coins became dramatically rarer. That's why examples from this 1818 to 2003 window carry such authority. They represent the end of an era. And one particular mint mark error quarter, graded, authenticated, and confirmed, has reached a current market valuation of $598,000. Not because of hype. Because of mathematics. Supply versus demand. And supply is nearly non-existent. Now Act 3 begins, and this is where power shifts to you. Because this story isn't about the past, it's about what happens next. Wealth doesn't always come from what you earn. Sometimes it comes from what you recognize. The people living truly wealthy lifestyles today understand this principle deeply. They know value before the crowd does. They act while others hesitate. And they never assume something is worthless just because it looks common. There's a quiet fear that creeps in when people realize opportunity may be closer than they think. Fear of missing out. Fear of overlooking something extraordinary. But here's the empowering truth: awareness dissolves fear. Knowledge creates leverage. And right now, more Americans than ever are rediscovering old coin collections, inherited estates, and forgotten storage boxes. They're asking better questions. They're verifying. They're discovering that history pays interest, sometimes in six figures. Let's add one more pattern interrupt. If quarters could talk, how many would laugh knowing they bought a soda one day and a mansion the next? Humor aside, the urgency is real. The market is active. Buyers are ready. And verified examples do not stay available for long. Every year, fewer remain unaccounted for. Every year, demand intensifies. This is not a someday opportunity. This is a right now reality. So here's the final thought to carry with you. Wealth is not always created, it's often uncovered. The USA 1818 to 2003 mint mark $quarter error is more than a coin. It's proof that life-changing value can exist where no one thinks to look. And for those willing to pay attention, willing to verify, and willing to act, the rewards can be extraordinary, because sometimes, the difference between ordinary and wealthy is knowing when to look twice. Picture this: a single coin, the kind you've probably dropped into a parking meter or left forgotten in a cup holder, quietly carrying a price tag whispered at $658,000. Not a gold bar. Not a rare painting. A modern US quarter. And here's the uncomfortable question that should stop you cold for a second: what if the most valuable asset you've ever owned already passed through your hands, and you never noticed? Stay with me, because the truth behind the 2017 P mint mark $quarter error is shaking the coin market, and the window of opportunity is not as wide as most people think. This story begins in plain sight, which is exactly why it's so powerful. In 2017, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia released millions of quarters into circulation. Nothing flashy. Nothing dramatic. Just another year, another coin. Or so everyone thought. Because hidden among those ordinary-looking quarters was a mistake, an error so rare, so shocking to seasoned collectors, that when it surfaced, it triggered the kind of reaction usually reserved for lottery winners and once-in-a-lifetime stock plays. And let me ask you something, just between us: when was the last time you really looked at your change? Act 1 is about ignorance, and not the foolish kind, the human kind. For years, these quarters moved freely through the economy. Gas stations. Grocery stores. Bank rolls. They sat in drawers and jars while the world rushed past them. Meanwhile, a microscopic but critical minting error slipped through quality control. The kind of error experts live for. The kind that rewrites value overnight. And when collectors finally identified it, the reaction was disbelief followed by urgency. Because once an error like this is confirmed, the hunt begins, and once the hunt begins, prices do not stay quiet for long. Now here's where things get interesting, and yes, a little fun. Imagine explaining to a friend that a quarter is worth more than their house. Watch their face. That pause. That laugh. That "yeah, right." And then imagine showing them the auction records, the private sales, the expert commentary. Suddenly the laughter stops. Because this is not fantasy. This is the exact kind of moment that has built fortunes quietly, while everyone else was distracted. Act 2 is where fear and excitement collide. Fear of missing out. Excitement of possibility. The 2017 P quarter error isn't valuable because it's old. It's valuable because it's rare, verified, and in extraordinary demand. Collectors are not just interested, they're competing. High net worth buyers want bragging rights. Investment grade collectors want assets with upside. And dealers want inventory that practically sells itself. When reports surfaced of this error commanding values up to $658,000, the market didn't question it, it reacted. Demand surged. Searches spiked. And the quiet drawers across America suddenly became treasure chests. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear: markets reward the informed, not the lucky. And the coin market is no different. Right now, there are people watching this video who already own something life-changing and don't realize it yet. And there are others who will realize it too late, after the best opportunities have been locked away in private collections. Let me break the tension for a second. If quarters could talk, some of them would be screaming, "Don't spend me." Act 3 is about decision, and this is where wealth is either claimed or quietly passed on. Coins like the 2017 P Mint Mark quarter error don't stay under the radar forever. Once the population is identified and certified, examples are absorbed by the market. Availability tightens. When availability tightens, leverage shifts to the seller. And that's where lifestyle changes happen. This is how ordinary people step into extraordinary outcomes, not by gambling, but by recognizing value before the crowd finishes catching up. Think about what $658,000 represents. Not just a number. It's freedom. It's options. It's the ability to turn a forgotten object into security, comfort, and legacy. And here's the urgency you need to feel right now: every day that passes, more of these coins are being found, graded, and removed from circulation. The earlier you act, the stronger your position. The later you wait, the more you're negotiating from behind. So here's your moment of clarity. After this video ends, the world doesn't change, but you can. You can look differently at what you already own. You can approach your coins not as spare change, but as potential assets. And you can step into the mindset of people who don't wait for opportunity to knock, they recognize it when it whispers. Because sometimes, wealth doesn't announce itself with noise. Sometimes, it hides in your pocket, waiting for the right person to pay attention. And let me leave you with this final thought, because it matters. The greatest regret in wealth building is rarely what we did, it's what we ignored. Don't ignore this. Check your coins. Understand what you have. Because the next great story in the rare coin market doesn't belong to a museum or a billionaire by default. It belongs to the person who was paying attention when it mattered most.